This is Cannaday, and today I'm going to be taking a spoiler-free look at a social deduction game with a legacy twist. Let's get into it. So since this is a legacy game, I don't want to go into too many details about what happens during the game. I just want to give my overall impressions and thoughts on the game and share a little bit about what makes this different from your regular Werewolf. So one of the main things about this game is that it can be only played with 9+ players. So this is different than some of the smaller or one-night Werewolf games and things like that. This is, you're going to have a large group to be able to play this, and it goes all the way up to 16. So if that's hard for you to get to the table, you might want to think about that and try to plan a group around that. But this can only be played in like 15 games or so to get through the entire book, and the diary is one of the big things in this game. If you've never played Werewolf before, it basically plays very much like regular Werewolf, but you're going to be unlocking things and doing things as far as like the legacy stuff goes. And the cool thing about this diary is it lets you go step by step through each of the games that you're going to be playing. It basically tells the narrator exactly what to say, and it makes it super easy for a narrator. Even though the narrator probably wants to be very experienced of how to run a Werewolf game, this definitely helps out. And you're going to be doing different things to the book as things go along and changing things up so that as you play through the game, it's going to adjust different balances, and that's one of the cool things that the game does. If the werewolves win more, it'll adjust more towards the villagers, and if the villagers win more, it'll adjust more towards the werewolves. You're also going to have like different families that you're going to start out with, and do lots of legacy style stuff with that, and there's just a lot of cool things that are legacy-ish in the game. So if you're into Werewolf, this has very much the same mechanics of Werewolf. There's not huge deviations of that. If you've played Werewolf with all sorts of crazy powers, that's pretty much what this legacy game is you're going to be switching up with different powers. And I'll go into my thoughts of the game as a whole now. I just don't want to spoil too much because I'd love for you guys to discover that on your own. So me and my group played through Werewolf Legacy, the entire thing in one day. It was hard to do. We were trying to get a group together. I had to invite a bunch of people over, and we kept having, since it's got that 9-player count on it, we kept having people be like, okay, well, I've played like 5 games of Werewolf. It's time for me to leave now. And so we'd have to get other people to come over. One of the things I definitely want to mention is the 9-player count thing on here. The fact that you have to have 9 to play makes it really hard to get to the table, and if you're doing a legacy game, it's going to need to get back to the table with that. And some of the different setups in here, you really don't get to see how they work properly, even with that bare minimum of 9. So it's like you want even more people than 9 so you can have more families and all that stuff. So it makes it really hard to see the full flavor of some of the scenarios in here. You can, if you have a strong moderator or people that know the game really well, you can bring new people in, and this could be their first time playing Werewolf, but you want to have people there that know how to play the game and can easily teach them. Another thing is, since you have these families that you're going to be upgrading and going along as the game progresses, you definitely want to have like people play like their same family and things like that. But it also leads to interesting situations where if one family or certain people do really good in the game or unlock certain things, they can kind of become overpowered with their cards. The rules say that you can switch up families in between each game, but it feels kind of rough to like upgrade some family and then have to switch it out and give it to someone else after you put a lot of work into that specific one. So it's really fun to play the same one as the games progress. But yeah, and then you just have to like make sure to that people are working together against those people to be like, make sure they're not so powerful. I really liked the game as a whole. I mean, if you like Werewolf, you're gonna like this. If you don't like Werewolf, this is definitely not gonna change your opinions about Werewolf as a whole. I'm a big fan of social deduction games and a big fan of Werewolf in general. Even though it has the whole player elimination thing, that's still here in this, and it still has all of those tropes, I still really enjoy the way that social deduction and Werewolf works, trying to figure out the werewolf, be the villagers and like capture them, or if you're the werewolf, trying to sneak in there and take out the villagers and not get caught. The diary for this game is insane production value. Like, this is basically like a book that has all sorts of awesome stuff in it, which we can't show you because there'd be too many spoilers, but it spells out what you do on your turn. You basically, the narrator is just reading through all of this stuff, and it makes it super easy to run people through a game, get people into the feel of and the flavor of what's going on in the village as different things are happening and twists and turns. And it even shows you like special rules that nobody else knows, and things that can happen in the game that it helps guide you through and helps you show the players how to make that work in the game. This is almost too good a production value for me. Like, the price point of this game is like $60 or like $50 if you get online, and it's just like, since it's a disposable game, it's a legacy game, I feel like they could have made this whole thing in a much cheaper value if this production quality wasn't this high. I would love to see something like this in a game that wasn't a one and done game. But the fact that like this is so hardcore, I mean, I guess they wanted to be like, you played through your game of Werewolf Legacy and this is like an heirloom that you can show your children. But I mean, it's Werewolf, so I don't think you're going to be showing this off to people. You can get recharge packs so you can play through it again, but of course then you're buying another one of these books because this is the main part of the game. They're really nice, but it's just too overdone for what it is. I mean, I would love to be able to like buy more copies of this game, play it again, go through it again, but the price point on it makes it hard for people to get into in the first place. I mean, because it's pretty much like you're playing lots of games of Werewolf, and I would love it to be more accessible to people. Our group had a blast with it, and I actually really liked the game, but it's just the fact that, hey, we probably could have had similar experiences with just a regular deck of Werewolf cards and just playing a whole bunch of games back to back with a moderator, adjusting things. It's cool to see the twists and turns, but for the amount of play you get in these, because Werewolf games are pretty quick in general, and you can easily bust this out in a day if you have a group that's committed to it. I mean, it's going to take you multiple hours to do it, and depending on the size of your group, but it's definitely pretty expensive for what it is overall. I really enjoy Werewolf Legacy. If you're super into Werewolf or you get a chance to play this at a con, that'd probably be like the best situation. But for your group itself, I don't know, I'd probably just stick with regular Werewolf and try to make some crazy rules up yourself, because this is quite expensive. So for me, I enjoyed it, but I probably wouldn't be buying another copy, and unless you just have the money to spend, I would probably stay away from it yourself. So thanks so much for joining me for Werewolf Legacy Review, and I'll see you on the next one.